Imagine a symphony that once played with tension and discord, each note a reflection of uncertainty, every instrument out of sync. This was the world of global trade in recent years, where harmony was replaced by anxiety and the rhythm of commerce faltered. Factories fell silent, shipping yards emptied, and headlines screamed of escalating trade wars. The flow of goods slowed to a crawl, and businesses everywhere braced for impact. But today, August 8, 2025, the music changes. The Trump-era tariffs, once the defining symbols of America First protectionism, have been overturned, sending shockwaves through boardrooms and government halls alike. This isn't just a policy tweak. It's a seismic shift that will reshape international relations and the daily lives of people from Shanghai to Chicago. The world's economic pulse quickens as leaders, workers, and families everywhere wonder what comes next. The world is watching, wondering, are we returning to open markets, or will the scars of trade wars linger? Investors and analysts debate the future, while ordinary people hope for relief from rising prices and job uncertainty. The World Trade Organization's newly empowered dispute body has handed down a ruling that marks a victory for multilateralism. For the first time in years, the rules-based order is asserting itself, promising a more predictable and fair trading environment. It challenges the notion that one nation can unilaterally rewrite the rules of global commerce. The message is clear: cooperation, not confrontation, must guide the future of trade. For businesses battered by unpredictable costs and broken supply chains, this is a lifeline, a promise of stability and rules-based order. Entrepreneurs and workers alike can begin to rebuild, confident that the ground beneath them is a little more solid. The tariff story was one of disruption, a bid to protect American industries by making foreign goods more expensive, sparking a tit-for-tat trade war. The consequences rippled across continents, affecting everyone from steelworkers to farmers, from tech giants to small businesses. Steel, solar panels, and farm goods became pawns in a high-stakes game, turning the global economy into a battlefield. Every tariff imposed was met with another, escalating tensions and uncertainty. Now, with the legal foundation for those tariffs gone, we stand at a crossroads. The choices made today will echo for years, shaping the future of globalization and the prosperity of nations. Will the global economy heal, or will new forms of protectionism rise? The wounds of the past are still fresh and the path forward is uncertain. But with renewed dialogue and cooperation, there is hope for a more open and resilient world market. The WTO faces a test of its relevance, and nations must decide if they can rebuild trust and cooperation. The coming months will reveal whether the spirit of multilateralism can triumph over division. The era of the Trump tariffs is over. A chapter defined by confrontation and uncertainty closes, making way for new possibilities and renewed hope. A new chapter in globalization begins today. The world stands ready to write its next verse, one of connection, opportunity, and shared progress. To truly grasp the significance of today's global trade tensions, we must look back at how it all began. The world's economic landscape has always been shaped by shifting alliances, competition, and the constant push and pull of national interests. In 2018, the Trump administration's America First policy launched a sweeping wave of tariffs, aiming to rebalance what it saw as unfair trade practices that had disadvantaged American workers and industries for decades. Steel and aluminum imports were the first to be targeted, justified under the banner of national security, a move that sent shockwaves through global markets and left America's closest allies reeling. The main target, however, was China. The U.S. accused China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and currency manipulation, leading to escalating tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars in goods flowing between the two nations. China quickly retaliated, imposing its own tariffs that hit American farmers especially hard, particularly those exporting soybeans and other crops, igniting what soon became a full-blown trade war. But the disputes didn't stop with China. Long-standing partners like Europe, Canada, and Mexico were also targeted, upending decades-old trade relationships and sparking new rounds of negotiations and retaliatory measures. Supporters of the tariffs argued they protected American jobs, revived struggling industries, and forced foreign governments to finally address long-standing grievances. Critics, however, warned that tariffs would raise prices for everyday consumers, squeeze small businesses, and risk alienating America's closest allies at a time of growing global uncertainty. The debate split economists, politicians, and the public, fueling heated discussions in Congress, on cable news, and in communities across the country. the old rules of global commerce were torn up, replaced by a new era of uncertainty as businesses scrambled to adapt to rapidly changing policies and unpredictable markets. The world's two largest economies became locked in a costly standoff, with negotiations dragging on and financial markets reacting to every new headline. The controversy was immense, and the consequences far-reaching, touching everything from global supply chains to the price of goods on store shelves. The stage was set for a global reckoning as nations around the world braced for the long-term impact of a new era in international trade. Tariff supporters saw them as a shield for American workers, a way to revive industries hollowed out by globalization. The idea: make imports pricier, boost domestic production, and reclaim economic sovereignty. This resonated with those left behind by free trade, who saw tariffs as a stand against a system that favored others. But opponents argued tariffs are a tax on Americans, raising prices and hurting businesses reliant on global supply chains. They warned of inflation, lost competitiveness, and global retaliation. Internationally, targeted nations saw the tariffs as illegal protectionism, sparking a cycle of tit-for-tat measures. The IMF and others warned that trade tensions threatened global growth. The world became more fragmented, prosperity more elusive. The debate was not just economic, it was about national identity and the future of global cooperation. The rift ran deep, both at home and abroad. The endgame for the Trump tariffs played out in Geneva, at the World Trade Organization. On July 15, 2025, the WTO's reformed appellate body ruled the U.S. tariffs on steel, aluminum, and Chinese goods violated global trade rules. Years of legal challenges by the EU, China, and others culminated in this binding decision. The U.S. faced the threat of legally sanctioned retaliation from nearly all major partners. Under pressure, the White House agreed to comply, signing an executive order to rescind the tariffs effective today. U.S. Trade Representative Katherine Tai pledged to address unfair trade through alliances and the WTO, not unilateral action. The era of go-it-alone tariffs is over, for now. The world's response: relief, optimism, and a dash of caution. Markets surged from Tokyo to New York, reflecting business hopes for stability. European and Canadian leaders hailed the move as a win for partnership and global commerce. China welcomed the change but urged the U.S. to abandon protectionism entirely. Yet strategic rivalry between the U.S. and China remains unresolved. At home, reactions split. Steelmakers fear renewed competition, while retailers and farmers celebrate lower costs and restored markets. The political debate over America's trade future is just beginning. The global mood is hopeful but wary. The world is watching what comes next. The tariff reversal sends ripples through global supply chains. Companies must now decide: return to China's manufacturing hub, or stick with diversified operations in Vietnam, Mexico, and beyond. Developing nations that gained from the trade war may see investment slow, but overall trade volume and stability should rise. Europe breathes easier. Auto and metal industries regain U.S. access, and transatlantic ties strengthen. For the U.S., consumers benefit from lower prices, and farmers regain lost markets. But industries once shielded by tariffs now face tough foreign competition. Policymakers must help workers and communities adjust to the new reality. The challenge: balance the gains of open trade with support for those left vulnerable. The global economy is more connected and more complicated than ever. The transition will test leaders everywhere. For deeper insight into the shifting landscape of global trade, I spoke with Dr. Annalise Riles, a renowned expert on global governance and international law. Her research has shaped how policymakers and academics understand the evolving rules of commerce. She emphasizes, this isn't a return to the pre-2018 world. The dynamics have fundamentally changed. The trade war, she explains, has permanently altered how nations perceive economic interdependence and the risks that come with it. Today, efficiency is no longer the sole priority. It now shares the stage with resilience, as governments everywhere weigh national security concerns and the need for robust supply chains when shaping trade policy. The WTO's recent ruling is a significant win for multilateralism, but Dr. Riles notes that the institution must rapidly adapt to new and complex challenges, such as digital trade, the proliferation of state subsidies, and the growing importance of environmental standards in global agreements. The ongoing U.S.-China rivalry, she predicts, will continue to fuel trade tensions. The focus is shifting from broad tariffs to more targeted controls, including investment screening and restrictions on sensitive technologies. Dr. Riles cautions that today's trade peace is fragile and could easily be disrupted by new disputes or geopolitical shocks. The real test, she argues, is whether global institutions like the WTO can keep pace with the rapidly changing realities of the 21st century, including technological innovation and shifting power dynamics. The future of trade will be defined by strategic competition, the ability to manage rising tensions, and the creativity to find common ground. The WTO's relevance, Dr. Riles warns, now hangs in the balance as it faces mounting pressure to reform and stay effective. The world must not only restore but also innovate the rules of commerce, ensuring they reflect the realities of a digital, interconnected, and rapidly evolving global economy. The next chapter in global trade will undoubtedly be more complex, unpredictable, and challenging than the last, demanding new ideas and unprecedented cooperation. For families, the end of tariffs means lower grocery bills and more affordable goods. Small businesses, like a custom bike shop, can lower prices and grow, no longer squeezed by costly imports. But for steel workers in Pennsylvania, the loss of protection brings anxiety and uncertainty about jobs. The benefits of free trade are widespread but diffuse. The pain is concentrated in vulnerable communities. The challenge ensures trade's gains are shared, and those hurt by change are supported. Sound policy means more than removing tariffs. It requires investment in training, infrastructure, and a strong safety net. The true measure of success is the well-being of all citizens, not just GDP growth. Trade policy is about people, not just numbers. The human story is at the heart of this new era. The end of the Trump tariffs closes one chapter and opens another, full of promise and uncertainty. Businesses will adapt, supply chains will shift, and nations will negotiate new rules for a changed world. The focus now, cooperation over confrontation, and strengthening institutions like the WTO. For individuals, this is a time to engage. Understand how global changes affect your life and community. The debate is no longer about tariffs but about what comes next: jobs, security, sustainability. The lesson is clear: unilateral actions have global consequences. The future depends on building a fairer, more resilient system together. The discord of trade wars is fading, a new complex melody begins. The hard work of building a better global economy starts now. The future of prosperity is in our hands.